All right. We're gonna start this.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Like I said, bro. I literally don't have even a name for this. I literally made up that name earlier.
I love it.
What this series is gonna be called, like, where I'm gonna sit down with people like yourself, people like I was saying, who have relentless drive and ambition for their craft. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, like, first and foremost, let me just take this back, because I feel like I need to explain who you are first, and like how we got about to doing this.
Definitely.
Ahmedshafii, or Shafi. What would you like to be referred to?
Shafi.
Shafi. Good. So Shafi, this is like literally a week or two before I started working with Mohi.
Yeah.
Actually, it's while I started working with Mohi, and then I think your video exploded online.
Yep.
I'll show you guys later. Hard knockout. Like, literally, it was sick.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw that video, I was like, damn, like,
you
know, I'm already kind of getting involved in this documentary with Mohi. Yeah. And then you popped up on my feed. Yeah. I was like, damn, like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the kick, wallahi, was so slick, it was smooth, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I straight away I followed you. I was like,
yeah,
I want to know more about this kid, like, because like the potential, and like I seen it, I was like, okay,
definitely.
I need to know who this kid is.
Definitely.
And then a week goes by, and I'm working with Mohi, obviously, on the documentary.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh yeah, this person's coming. I didn't really pay attention to who the person was.
Yeah.
And I think he was referring to you and Jess. So on that fight night, right?
Yep.
And then he was like, yeah, we're gonna. I was downstairs with him, and he's like, yeah, let's go upstairs and get footage of this.
Yeah.
And then I'm carrying the camera. I'm like, I'm coming. I'm following him around. I'm seeing all these different people coming and like saluting him, like taking pictures with him. And then we get to the entrance.
Yeah.
And then I see you pop out of nowhere, and behind you was Jess. I was like, shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
Literally, I had like a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was a fan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was a fan already.
Like a supporter.
Yeah. I was supporting. Plus, your Somali brother as well.
Yeah.
So straight, I was like, I'm down. I'm down for this. So that's literally my introduction to you.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, obviously, we've done a few different things together. We've been like, I've recorded a few training sessions with you and Mohi and the whole gang as well.
Definitely.
Shout outs to CK, obviously. Who else was there? Jess, obviously.
Jess was there.
Mohi.
10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
And obviously, I've got to shout out Cyber as well.
Yeah, legend.
Cyber connected the whole thing.
Yeah.
So shouts out to Cyber as well. King Libah online. You know, check him out as well. He's another dangerous motherfucker. OG, for real. He's just put out a highlight today.
It was hard highlight.
Yeah, man. And yeah, man, that was my introduction to you, Shafi, bro, man. Like, how are you, bro? How's things?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well, man.
It's good to hear that, bro, man.
I actually didn't know about you, because you know how it is when you get a crazy knockout, the influx of followers and everything. But when I came right away, Muhi's like, I have a documentary coming out, and I had snippets on his story.
Yeah.
So when I saw you with him right away, Hasbullah was there.
Yeah.
It was just amazing, you know. Not the real Hasbullah, but
with a little.
We're taking pictures and
cardboard cutout.
We saw you with the crazy setup, and we're like, man, Muhi's going extra, you know.
Literally.
But I just wanted to provide content to you right away.
Yeah.
Because I see a camera there, you know.
I see you.
Let's get some stuff for Muhi. Let's make it look good. And it was a good time. It was a good night, man. It was a
very good night, man. I enjoyed every single minute of it. That was like literally my first ever event I went to, a UFC MMA mixed martial arts competition.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm addicted now. I feel like I want the next one to come quickly as well.
Definitely.
I'm like, Mohi, whenever you're doing anything like that, just holler me. Like, I don't care. I'll be the camera guy who follows you around as long as I can get into these spaces and like just watch these crazy fights, because the night was fucking sick.
There are some skilled individuals, man, that compete in these basically fight nights. And it's amateurs, pros, but it doesn't mean anything. These guys don't wear shin guards, you know. They all have a skill level, and they all come out with fire, aggression, and it's fun to watch.
We was talking about that, like how the levels obviously is massive in terms of the amateur and like semi-pro and the pro in terms of the level of skill that goes into a fight.
Yeah.
But the training, there's no difference in the training.
It stays the same, right?
Yeah. How does training work for you in terms of just how you approach?
So I do. At the beginning of the year is when I started competing this year. Sure. I've had 4 fights and 4 different camps. The last one was my longest camp, and it was my shortest fight, evidently. So this is how unpredictable. So is that the fight? Exactly. That's cool. That's how unpredictable the game is in a way.
Yeah.
But the camps for me, I got on a solid lifting program at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, I started around 129 pounds, which is not even enough to fight at the lowest weight, 125, because I'd only cut 4 pounds, and guys cut a massive 15 and 20 pounds to get down. But I got on a lifting program. I put on a solid 10 pounds since my last fight. My physique looks bigger. I was already long.
I mean, I see you eating burgers and shit. Now, trying to level up.
Especially now. But my physique was already long, and I was a tall guy, and I knew how to use my weapons. All my weapons aren't available yet, by the way. I still can't throw elbows in some of these states. I still can't throw knees to the head.
Is that because of the level of the competitions that you're fighting in?
Exactly. So like amateur, sometimes I fought in South Carolina for MMA. You couldn't knee to the head and you can't elbow at all, like even on the ground.
Okay.
But every state has their own sanctioning body, and it's a little different. Virginia, my last fight, actually had pro rules. So I could have thrown an elbow, I could have thrown a head kick, a knee to the head, everything. It was an 18-second fight, so you saw no weapons other than some feints and a high kick.
Literally.
That's literally what it was. But guess what? Those are the ones that make you explode.
I can imagine. And obviously, you touched on like weight cutting. I feel like weight cutting is the most.
Yeah.
I can't, because when we was together the other day, we was talking about weight cutting and how daunting that shit.
We're in the sauna too.
Yeah, it was on the sauna. It was chill. It was a good day.
Yeah.
Shouts out to TK. Love for that. Weight cutting. Speak on weight cutting for me, because I feel like that's more than anything else, the training and everything else. I feel like weight cutting does a lot to the body.
Yeah. I don't cut a lot of weight, but I've seen people around me cut an abnormal amount of weight. Like I'm saying like 20 pounds, 15 pounds of fight week. So the way my team does it is we basically get a bunch of water during the week. We water load. So you just basically drink as much water as you can, a lot of fluids. You just have to make sure there's no creatine and salts that will hold the water in. Okay. So it's mostly like distilled water, no fruity drinks and all of that. And basically the day before the weight cut, we do some, like maybe 2 days before, you do like a small little cut with just the sauna suit and just turn up the heat in the gym. But the day before the weigh-in is the big day. You'll start off like early morning. We got a hotel last time around. And we prefer hot bath. So hot bath, what it does is it's steaming hot water. You go in the bath for about like 10 minutes. I have footage of this. I haven't posted yet. Okay. So you'll eventually see it.
Yeah, for sure.
My teammate was also cutting weight with me. He had a 15-pound cut. It was a big cut, maybe a little more during fight week. Our body fat is already significantly lower than where it was when we started training camp. But we just water loaded, and you have to just cut 15 pounds of water basically, or 10 pounds of water. I did 10 pounds, and that is even brutal. So you go to the water, it's steaming hot. The goal is to trick your brain for 10 minutes. You stay in there 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes of torture. I actually cannot explain how it feels to you.
Imagine, bro.
It is one of the worst things. Like my teammate was crying, like fighting to get out of the bath. Like he walked out multiple times. You have to stay in though. The whole goal is to stay in, trick your body. And the temperature is just rising every second in there. It feels like I don't want to say subhanAllah, it feels like hell. Like that's how it feels to me, you know? Like obviously like you don't know no one knows what hell is, but
yeah, for real.
I feel like in real life that's the closest you can get to it, honestly. Then after the bath you go under towels. So like it's a hotel, you get fresh towels. And we actually had a blow dryer running. It's funny. We couldn't turn up the heat in time. We had a blow dryer running and we just shut the bathroom doors, a small bathroom. But the blow dryer just turned up the heat on another level. We went under the towels. The towels is the easy part because obviously you're not hot, but your body's still hot. It still thinks it's in the water. It's a process of just tricking your brain, thinking that, hey, I need to, sweat to cool down a little bit. But you stay in the towel for about 20 minutes. You do that multiple times before the weigh-in day. And each session you do about the 30 minutes, 10 bath, 20 towels, you will lose maybe 2 pounds. I'm not an expert on it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm learning every single fight.
I can imagine. And does that work different, obviously, for every different fight that you go into, depending on obviously how much weight you got to cut as well?
Definitely. Like, it would be ideal every fight to walk in at a low body fat percentage, feeling good, no injuries, but everyone is different. Everyone's body is different. Guys are getting nutritionists now at the pro level. Even at the amateur level, it's getting really like serious what you do and eat outside of training. For me, I'm very small for the weight already, so I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of guys that have a really tough time, and if they don't do it properly, they will not make the signed dotted weight, you know?
Yeah.
And their fight is in jeopardy after that, because in the States, it's sanctioned. You can't just say, hey, because it happened to my teammate. My teammate actually weighed in a pound over. Eamon is his name. But he had a really tough weight cut, and it was a kickboxing fight. It was an amateur kickboxing fight. But his opponent basically said, and his coaches, hey, you have to cut that last pound, you know? And it is what it is. Like, you can feel bad about it in the moment, but we would do that to one of our guys too, you know? If they're fighting, we don't want the other guy to have an advantage. That 1 pound can make the difference in that fight, you know? But basically, Eamon just ran down the street.
I say even touch on that.
Yeah.
What's the effects of fighting someone that has just an extra 1 pound of like mass of whatever, muscle of whatever, you know, whatever it is.
In MMA, it's drastic, because in mixed martial arts, there's grappling, obviously, there's jiu-jitsu, there's cage work. A lot of people don't realize cage work. If you're great on the cage, you can use the cage to your advantage, and especially if you're heavier, right? But every ounce makes a difference in the sport. And the other thing is, mentality is a big thing. And fight week, it's the worst thing. You feel like a pregnant lady. I can imagine how they feel, or like you're on your period. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the worst type of mentality. Like, fighters are very emotional too, because of the sport they do already and the reasons why they get in. But I feel like during that fight week, where the interviews are happening, your family is traveling to come see the fight, the weigh-in, the weight cut, the fight itself, the walkout, like the small details too matter. Your adrenaline is going up and down, up and down. The night before is one of the worst too. Like, you're just thinking of all the scenarios that can play out the next day in your head of that fight. Like, hey, this can happen to me. What would I react with? How would this happen? But the thing is, you want to just live in the moment. That's what they always say, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to have scenarios playing in your head over and over again. You just want to be present, especially when you're walking out. Be present. Don't think about the fight that's going to happen in 20 seconds from now, because there's nothing you can do about the scenarios that happen. Playing it over and over in your head just will make you even way more like adrenaline pumped, tired, fatigued, anxious. And that can be amplified if you had a terrible weight cut, you know?
For real. Yeah. Because I'm not sure if you remember his fight. I'm not sure if he was there, if you made it.
Yeah.
But one of the fighters from his camp.
Yeah. Imran.
No, Papa.
Hamza.
No. The Eastern European brother.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically him, I don't put his information out there too much. But,
yeah.
He lost that night.
Yep.
And obviously it's hard to determine what was the cause for that loss.
Yeah.
But once obviously we came back to the changing room, there was something that was on his mind.
Yeah.
That could have affected his performance.
Yeah.
In the cage.
Yeah.
And then obviously we figured out what the problem was. What was actually on his mind.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the reasons, potentially the main reason why he could have lost concentration in that fight, because he was thinking about something that was outside of his control.
Mm.
And there was nothing to do with the fight, his opponent. It was nothing to do in that night, basically.
That makes
it was
sense.
Something outside of it. I think he was traveling and he needed some paperwork sorted.
Yeah.
But because that was on his mind the whole time, he was trying to communicate with the GP, the general practice office. Yeah. He was getting no responses.
Answers, huh?
Exactly. And he was supposed to fly that morning.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to the changing room, like we sat and I think his Sifu, his trainer, asked him
definitely
what's wrong, and he wasn't really even thinking too much about the fight
that just happened.
Yeah, he was thinking about the paperwork.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
You know, that might have been potentially one of the reasons why you lost, and that is like a small thing,
minuscule,
like, and it could affect the whole like trajectory of your fight because you're just not prepared mentally for it. Your body is there, your mind is there, like half of it. If, you know, if you're concentrating on this, then it's you know, it's half of it is there, but then the other half is like
somewhere else.
Yeah,
I had something very similar. My mom, this was the first fight she came to, this last one, the 18-second knockout. And she actually told me like the 2 days before that she will come. She's like, we're going to come. Like the whole family's going to come. Older brother's going to come, younger sister and younger brother who's like 12. You know, he doesn't even know like what the basis of violence is. But they all came. They had a 2-hour drive from Pennsylvania, Virginia.
That's cool, man.
But like in the moment, like when I was out there, like I was like, when I was walking out, I was like, dang, my mom is out here, you know? Like that was going through my head a little bit. Like, I'm not going to lie. It just built the anticipation pressure a little more. But I feel like I'm a guy that I kind of like a crowd. I kind of like being a showman.
Yeah, you have to. You got to get used to it now.
That it doesn't even really affect me. My family was like, let's go, Shafi, let's go. My older brother, my mom was like, right before the KO, you can hear it, guys. Go to my Instagram. You can hear my mom say, let's go, Shafi. And I killed a guy right after. Like, he's done, like dead. And my mom actually cried that night because of how hardly I KO'd that guy. She felt bad for him. Exactly. You know how moms are, man.
Yeah,
that kid was hometown kid, so he had like a lot of supporters and family there as well. And I tried to make it as respectful as I could in terms of just getting the crowd down. A lot of people thought I was being disrespectful because I clipped the video in a way that didn't show the respect I paid. But I
won the fight, bro.
Exactly. I circled the ring. I circled the cage. I went to the camera, said some things, grabbed my flag right after. I was on top of his team and him as well, just saying, hey, we can run it back, you know? Like, I actually felt like looking back.
Imagine. Like, you want this again?
No, it's not that. Like, I actually feel like I would have learned more because that kid was actually a great wrestler in high school. He's competed in BJJ tournaments and won. And I believe he's going to college for wrestling. I think maybe D3, maybe D2. I don't know. But I actually wanted to learn something in my fight because of like his credentials. I wanted to see how I'd react, how I'd do. We just drilled cage work and not letting my hips settle on the ground for 3 months straight. And the whole fight had nothing to do with that. It was just a KO. I outstruck him. We knew our striking would play a great factor, but not to that extent. So when it came, it was like, oh, like we didn't even have to deal with all we were prepared for.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that as well, actually. Obviously, you fight different fighters, and it all, you know, they all have different strengths.
Yeah.
You know, speaking to you, say your strengths are striking, and you know, you have long reach and stuff like that.
Yep.
And there's fighters out there who have other advantages, like you know, grappling. Some people are really good on the floor.
Yeah.
Some people are good at wrestling. Some people are just good at just kicking, just keeping you at bay.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Teeping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at this level that you're fighting at, like there isn't a lot of information. There's not a lot of
on the opponents.
Like there's not a lot of videos that you could watch to say, okay, this guy, I can see him moving this way, and he does that in every other fight.
Yep.
So how do you kind of prepare for yourself for a fighter that you have little to no information on?
Yeah. So I was a big fan of the sport before I even started training. So I was a fan of the sport probably for like 7-8 years now. I started training 4 years ago, just under 4 years. But I had an extensive knowledge of the sport without ever throwing a punch.
Sick. Like
I could talk to like a MMA enthusiast or even fighter, and I'd be competent. I'd know what I was talking about to an extent. You know, obviously I wasn't in there competing. But now I do compete. Now I do see it. And a lot of the things I learned back in the day before I was even competing, I still remember and I can still lean on for a little bit of knowledge now. But in terms of like amateurs, honestly, like the big thing you can focus on is build. Like you see a picture of them before you fight them. This guy's this height. This guy's this tall. This the reach he has. This is what he did in high school, because you can kind of look up in the States what they did in high school. Hey, he's a track star, he's a sprinter. You can kind of guess he's a round first minute kind of guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you do your research. You know, there's Tapology now. Tapology is everywhere. It covers the whole world. I'm top 10 in Virginia for Tapology in terms of flyweights. I'm also top 15 in South Carolina, which is another huge state for flyweights. But just 1 or 2 more, 3 more wins.
What is a type?
Typology is a company that basically keeps track of everyone's fighting. Because everything is sanctioned, but they basically reach out to the governments that sanctioned it, and they're like, hey, what happened in this event?
Okay.
Who TKO'd who KO'd who, what minute, they get all that data back and they just enter it. And the way they have an algorithm, the way their algorithm works, if you got to get KO in 18 seconds or so, like I'm above a lot of guys that have been competing 2-3 fights, but guess what? They've had a loss or 2, or they've had, a decision, draw, or something, maybe even a win that was like questionable. But an 18-second KO is like the algorithm's like, boom, we're going to put you top 10, and number 1 is like a guy who's like 10-2. So he's long overdue to be a pro.
Yeah.
Like when these guys leave, you're only getting bumped up even higher and higher.
So
it also puts a target at your back.
Okay, yeah.
That's the thing. Like the guys ahead of me are guys I actually want to fight.
Okay.
Like I know the list.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Because obviously, if you're on the top, say top 10 as you are, then you would have you'd be paying attention to who's above you more than anything else.
100%. And like what they're doing when they're competing next. Especially in the States, there's so many.
Do you often go to watch
the website? Not to watch. I never go to watch anyone.
Okay.
I'm focused on myself. But the website, you check it maybe every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Who competed where? What happened there? I have teammates that I care about in other states that I've trained with. I keep up with their records, how they're doing. But yeah, basically that just helps me. But for the info, I just look at reach, height, what they did in high school. What kind of gym they train at. Like if they're coming out of a jiu-jitsu school, like you can kind of guess this guy's going to be a ground guy.
Okay.
If they're coming out of some boxing, or even the shorts they wear, like there's some nuanced details. The pictures that your gym posts, you know what I mean? There's some details that you can really get. Like if this guy's wearing like a tank top and like he wraps his hands a certain way, you can kind of guess he's a boxer. If this guy's wearing like Muay Thai shorts, you can guess this guy's got some Muay Thai kicks. He doesn't have crazy movement. The way their guard is, like if you watch the sport like I do, and some nuanced things, and I'm only getting better at it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can kind of tell what you're going to run into. And we had a great game plan with this last guy because I felt like me and my team knew what he had to bring to the table.
And obviously now this is like your 4th fight?
Yep, that was my 4th fight. Yep.
And it's all amateur?
All amateur, yep.
Okay, so how many fights? First, how many fights do you think you want to have at amateur level before going pro? I've
talked to a lot of people about this, but there's opinions I value more than others. Muhyiddin, my coaches, people who really know the game as well, have a great input. Muhyiddin was saying earlier, he's like, who's the MMA Somali fighter, the biggest one right now.
Yeah.
He was saying earlier, it's better to have too many amateur fights than too little.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with fighting a couple extra. And the amateur record, the amateur record doesn't matter as much as the pro record. If you have an extensive amateur record and maybe you even have a losing record, whatever it is, you get a clean slate when you're a pro.
Okay.
The thing about it is you can't go back to being an amateur. Once you're that professional registered fighter, you'll never be able to go back to the amateur world and take advantage of some of those easier fights, some of the journeymen, some of the kids that aren't as dangerous, that will be dangerous, like yourself.
Yeah.
So I plan on competing a lot more in MMA, especially this upcoming year. And I want to taste defeat, honestly. Like when you look at the fight, the last pay-per-view of UFC, the highest level, it was Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira headlining it.
Yeah.
Who have 10 plus, maybe 7 plus losses at least each. Oliveira is kind of known as a quitter. He was, at least. This kid grew up in the cage. So did Poirier. I think they both started when they were 20 or 21.
Yeah.
So they went from kid, my age, Obviously, the game didn't have as many fighters back then, so it was easier for them to get in the game.
Sure.
But they grew up inside that cage. They've had losses. Like Oliveira has a loss where like his collarbone just felt weird. It wasn't even broken. And this is in the UFC. Obviously, Dustin losing high caliber fights against McGregor, coming back against McGregor, the same guy.
Yeah.
When you're young, like there's nothing wrong with competing more in kickboxing, in jiu-jitsu tournaments, and MMA itself. But honestly, the cool thing about me is, and I think it can also be like a detriment, is my social media is way ahead of where it should be. It can almost seem like I'm a pro that's been doing it forever when you look on social media. And it's hindered me from getting my next fight in a weird way, and I'll tell you how.
How so?
The promoter, I won't say their name or anything.
Sure, yeah.
He's had a hard time finding me fights because everyone looks at my Tapology record. They see a kid.
So this guy just knocks people out.
Yeah, and
in like 20 seconds.
Exactly. And in my socials, I have kickboxing champ, which I am. And Tapology doesn't cover kickboxing; it covers the MMA side. And I have 1 draw in MMA and 1 win.
Isn't kickboxing part of MMA?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you kickbox in MMA.
Yeah.
But kickboxing is just stand up. It's like the ring version.
Okay.
It's a whole nother sport.
Okay. It's like boxing.
Exactly. Jess competes in kickboxing. He competes in rings.
Okay. Yeah.
He's had MMA fights, but he's mostly a kickboxer.
Yeah.
Which he plans on being full-time MMA.
Sick.
But these guys see that and
another
they're like,
beast.
Exactly.
Another beast, man.
Beast. But they see that and they're like, man, he has 1 draw in MMA, a 3-round fight. Obviously, like he didn't get like dominated or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He has good takedown defense. He hasn't gotten taken down. He has 18-second KO, and his social media seems crazy. Like, and they don't know like the kickboxing credentials behind it because it's not tracked.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys just assume, dude, this guy's a killer. I'm not fighting him. He's some phenom, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I'm not a phenom by any means. I don't think I am. I think there's way better fighters out there my age in terms of like their not their technique or anything. I feel I have great technique, but just in terms of their experience for my level, some of the people think I have way more experience than I actually do, and they haven't accepted fights. I think the number is 4 guys.
Okay.
4 or 3.
And but that's not to your, that's not to your detriment, bro. Like I feel like if you have a community that's behind you and supporting you, that's not something to use against
100%. And I'm the one that runs it, I'm the one that's doing all this. Obviously it brings all the sponsorships and everything else outside of it, and it also gets you bigger fights. Like in the future when I turn a pro, there's guys that are pros in the UFC right now that have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 followers. I'm almost at 11K as an amateur competing for 1 year. And like, it's sad. And a lot of people don't understand like that side of the game. Like I was talking to a couple other podcasts and I was mentioning there's 2 things you have to do preparing for a fight. What's the first one, do you think? Preparing for a fight, what do you have to do? It's just simple.
Train.
It's not like a trick question. Train, right?
Yeah.
Train so you don't get fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Like train to protect your body, see your family again.
Facts.
That's the first thing you can do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going into nuance or detail. The other one is to promote what you trained for.
Facts.
Like the end result. So you train to protect yourself, to do all this, but also the end result. You want to win.
Facts.
If you're the only one, or your team's the only one, or your family's the only one seeing your win, and all those months you put of hard work, effort, blood, sweat, and tears, literally, because man, guys are throwing up in the gyms every day. Guys are shitting themselves every day, working through any sickness,
Facts.
And then there's guys that just don't do one thing to promote, like post that picture of the face-off, post that picture of the weigh-in, post the art that someone made for you.
Yeah.
Take little videos. I just told the guy out there, my brother, to take a little video of this podcast that we're doing right now. It's small things like that will make you another level of entertainer and another level that people want to see you fight.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing that second step,
but then that's why I was saying to you earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you wanted to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell fucking yeah. Why wouldn't you start? I
actually got used to podcasts, I feel.
You've done a few now.
I always thought it was like a little tough speaking for this long.
Yeah.
But the time just goes so fast when you talking to great people like yourself and a topic that's interesting to you, that you can get back to. But honestly, it's crazy that people don't promote,
Yeah.
You're selling yourself. You're a prize fighter.
And that's why I would push you to. I'm sure you don't need this from me, but bro, don't stop posting.
No, never.
Don't stop posting.
I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the whole point of it.
Exactly.
The whole point is to put yourself in a position where, obviously, you're physically prepared, you're mentally prepared.
Yeah.
And like socially, like social currency is a fucking thing now.
It's a thing. Every click is money.
Every click is money.
Yeah.
And if we're not in this for the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not in this because you like getting punched in the fucking face.
That's the thing, right? like as a kid, I always thought like, oh, I'm gonna create iconic moments, like walking into the cage, music blasting. I'm gonna raise my hands. I want to walk into the cage, be a gladiator. But that's the least of your fucking worries when you're actually walking out.
Exactly.
You're like, I'm not trying to get killed right now. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get head kicked like that. What I did to that kid, that could be me in any situation. That could be any fighter. Any fighter can get caught. But that's the least. That's like the least of your worries. You know, you have to promote yourself. There's no other way.
You need more than that.
Yeah.
You need to get paid.
Exactly.
You need to get paid, bro.
Which I want to talk about too, man.
Facts. We'll get into that. And that's the thing. Like, if you are putting this work, if, like you're saying, you're training your body, you're training your mind, you're going through some gruesome fucking training.
Yeah.
And your body's literally breaking at some points. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And this is, as much as you enjoy it,
as
much as you enjoy the pain, as much as you enjoy the training, as much as you enjoy the thrill of all of that, you're doing this in order for you to be to be financially secure.
The glory is great. Like, I'm a champ. I'm this and that. That doesn't pay your bills. That won't pay
your bills.
I don't have kids, but that won't feed your kids. Look at
McGregor.
That will not get you a house. Perfect example. Perfect. Like, these guys hate on him so much. And they're the broke ones. It's sad. Maybe you have every reason to say I'm the better fighter, this, that. You have every reason. Yeah. No one's doubting your credentials. No one's doubting anything. But what they can doubt is your bank account. You know, you can't doubt McGregor's bank account. Nah. This guy is another level of promotion, another level of fame. He will be remembered far after he's done fighting. Where are these fighters? You know,
I think he's done more for UFC.
Yeah,
in terms of getting it to a wider population, wider audience.
The sport in general, MMA,
than any other fighter in the history of the UFC.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like
a lot of people, like obviously, I was watching UFC here and there.
Yeah,
you know, I feel like that's one sport that really excites me.
Yeah,
I don't watch enough of it because I feel like it's sometimes it's just too much to watch. You know what I'm saying? Just people just get
the promotion.
Like, but once you get someone like that and he's promoting it in a way where it makes you feel like it's Mayweather 0.20. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know it's a plus having an exciting fighting style. People don't realize that too. Like, every fighter, I like to think every fighter goes in there like, hey, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. That's what think of gladiators, right? They have to go in there thinking, if I don't kill this guy, he's gonna kill me, right? Like Roman gladiators. I like to think MMA is like a safe version of that, where you don't die, but you're trying to get them out of there as fast as you can, right?
Yeah.
There are bum fighters that don't think that way.
Okay.
There's few.
Yeah.
But there's guys that naturally, whatever it is, their testosterone or adrenaline or whatever style they do, I'm not saying guys that finish you on the ground and pound, this, that.
Yeah.
There are wrestlers out there that will literally, their whole game plan, it works. It gets them wins. Their whole game plan is to hold on to you. Those are the guys that, like, the fans hate the most.
Yeah.
No one wants to watch you. And there's strikers out there. There's strikers out there that's really boring too. Guys that just feint from a distance. Not in a nuanced way, like, a technical way. They're looking for the knockout shot.
They're just trying to keep you at bay.
Like in stand-up, it's not as drastic. But in grappling especially, there's guys that are just, get this guy off my screen. I don't want to watch him. But you know what does help those guys? Yeah. Those, like, not entertaining guys? Just promoting yourself as a badass. Get those small little highlights that you do have, and put them on Instagram, because no one is watching you really on the screen and being entertained. Like Khabib, this guy is loved because he finishes guys on the ground. You know what I mean?
Does it well. He has an agenda in mind that I'm gonna butcher you on the ground.
His agenda coming in is not, I'm gonna hold on here and I'm gonna waste some time on the clinch,
dude.
That's not. McGregor, another one. Flashy KOs. Sean O'Malley. You know Sean O'Malley?
Yeah.
Jake Paul in a weird fucking way.
Yeah.
This guy is KOing people.
Yeah, for real.
Doesn't mean they're the greatest fighters, but guess what? They're exciting.
Yeah.
So those guys already have a head start on you, especially if you're a boring fighter. So boring fighters, this is my message to you. you can be boring in the cage, but don't be boring also outside of the cage.
Outside the cage.
Because then no one will give a fuck about you.
Nice. Like one of my favorite, like I love watching this guy, bro. Like he's the most, we spoke about the Khabibs and like the Connors.
Yeah.
But Adesanya, there's nothing like him in that octagon, bro. Like I can watch
Showman.
Literally, like you can watch him. He can lose a fight and you'd come off happy watching that fight because you've been entertained so much.
Crazy. From his walk-in to the time he steps in the cage.
His fighting style.
To Bruce Buffer announcing his name and he's doing some weird... I don't even watch anime.
He's
doing some weird anime.
Naruto. Rock Lee does that.
And he does like the Death Note. These things, you don't understand how anime fans love these things. I'm not an anime fan. But like there's kids out there,
love anime.
They don't know a lick of MMA. But they're like, yo, that Adesanya guy knows Death Note. Did you see that fight? I'm like, damn, like Adesanya has a whole anime community just because he does that, you know? And it's like, then people ask like, why don't you raise your flag? Or why do you raise your flag? That's another question, right? Dude, the second you raise a flag, you have a whole country behind you.
Let's talk on that.
I don't care who, like, let's talk about it.
Let's talk on that.
Because I don't care what country you're from, anything. This niche that you're in is already small. MMA, right? It's already a small niche. So it's like there's fighters out there that don't carry a flag. Those are the fighters that aren't cared about as much, you know? But when you carry that flag, you make your niche even smaller. Especially at the beginning, it's important when you're an amateur and when you're this and that, because you'll be established as, hey, he's the Somali MMA fighter. When you're in the big stage, obviously everyone's already watching. You don't have, like, you still carry your flag, but that's not the main source of attention coming into you. Like right now, the main source of attention coming into me is one cloth. What is it?
It's the community, bro.
One cloth in particular, like a piece of cloth. What is it?
Flag.
The flag, the Somali flag. That's like every time I post a Somali flag,
everyone's reposting.
Yeah. Because I understand that niche is a niche that needs it. Even if they don't need it, right? Even if you're a US fighter, huge population of fighters, right? Brazilian, Russian. These guys are like Khabib. He has a piece of cloth too. What is his cloth? It's not a Russian flag, by the way. It's no flag actually, but it's something that he wears on him.
It's the
hat.
Yeah.
The hat, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? That's the piece of cloth that is like, oh, that's my niche. The people of Chechnya, Dagestan, Georgia also wears it. A lot of areas of Russia and all of Eastern Europe can identify with that hat. He's from the Caucasus. He's from the republics.
Yeah.
They identify with that. Exactly. Like he's like a bloke like me, even though there's Christians that wear those hats.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're not worried about him being Muslim and this and that. He already has a whole niche behind him. The more niches you can get behind you, the better. Like I posted a comic the other day, actually yesterday.
Yeah.
I just reached out to him. Hey, can you make me a comic? Boom. He posted it. And guess what? There's kids commenting, guys commenting that would never comment on my other posts, like my MMA posts or like my style posts, whatever it is. But they're like, yo, this is dope as hell. Like going crazy, you know? Yeah. And it's just like a comic book version of me.
Of you, yeah.
So it's like, you have to raise your flag. You have to raise whatever you can to get more people interested in you.
I love that because I feel like representation is so important, bro.
100%.
Because when I was speaking to Muhi, you know, one of the questions I asked him in the documentary, inshallah, will come out sometime next year.
Inshallah.
It was obviously growing up.
Yeah.
There's no one to look up to as a fellow Somali in the combat sport.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there's any, they're probably fighting the amateurs, and but there's not enough coverage on them for you to be able to say, yeah, that's the guy that I want to be like when I grow up.
Yep.
You feel me? So, you know, I was saying like the closest thing that we have to represent us was Mo Farah.
100%.
And he's a distant runner.
Yeah.
And he's the best distance runner.
Yep.
To ever grace the
planet.
Literally, he ran like 22 kilometers in like an hour or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think you told me that fact actually.
Yeah,
you did.
It's insane.
Exactly. Yep. So like representation is that important. If you don't have someone representing you or your people or your country, it doesn't mean that you won't do what you plan out to do, or the ambitions are not heavily reliant on finding or having someone in that space.
Yeah.
But you being in that space and saying, hey guys, I'm here.
I'm really doing it.
I'm doing it.
That's another side of what I was just saying, right? The inspiring the kid side. People are like, this is cringy, this and that. Those are the guys that don't understand what some of the country or some of whatever that area, that niche is going through. So the Somali kids right now, like you said it perfect. They can't go to their parents and say, look at this Somali guy.
Yeah.
Look at this equivalent of Spider-Man, but he's Somali. You know what I mean? Like, or Superman or whatever it is, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or this crazy Adele singer. Like, we have models, yes. Like, girls can say, hey, look, mom, look at this model. Like, we have beautiful girls that right now.
The closest thing that we had to an actor, sorry to cut you, bro, was, remember Captain Phillips? Yeah. I'm the captain now. Yeah. Where's that brother, man?
Man.
We need, so like, I wish he took that kind of, that momentum and really
went with it.
Went with it. Because then I think that would have been another thing that we could have aspired and have had a representation in that space as well.
100%. And it's not even like, it's not even where you are. Like, I can look up to Ramla Ali, a boxer, a woman, a Muslim. She's a black lady. There's so much going against her. But I can look at her and say, you know what? Her name's Ramla. Her name's Ali.
Yeah.
She's from Somalia.
Yeah.
Born. She might not be raised there.
Yeah.
By any means, she probably doesn't even speak Somali.
Yeah.
But I can identify with her. Not just because I'm a combat sports athlete.
Yeah.
She's a boxer. It's totally different. Even women boxing, you know? But I can say, you know what? I'm going to look at her. She probably had parents that went through a lot, just like myself. She's come from a place where there's not a lot of opportunities. Fact. But you know what? When she stepped on soil that had opportunities, she fucking knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like some kid is thinking the same thing about me. You know what I'm saying? Some kid is thinking, man, this fucking guy just posted a comic book about himself. He might be thinking of me way bigger than I actually am. Like back home, I have a bunch of Somali fans and supporters. In Kenya, Ethiopia, like I see my insights, I understand my numbers, and I see my DMs too. You would be shocked. Like if you looked at my phone right now, how many requests and DMs but you know what I do? I answer every single one where I at least look at it. If they react to it, I double tap it, I like it, I leave it alone. I don't waste my time like saying thank you so much and this and that. Sure. But you know what? Just that, hey, he saw it, man. That was, that was him. Like that was crazy for a split moment. Like he saw me. You know what I mean? That's how I felt about Ramla Ali. That's how I felt about Mo Farah. That's how I felt about a lot of guys. And now, even on a bigger level, I feel like I will crush it even more than those guys. Because anyone can do this. Anyone. You look at other countries and the stars they have, how many immigrants, how many refugees have made it out, which my family were refugees, you know?
Yeah, man.
And I'm sure half the...
a lot of our stories is the same, especially our generation now. Obviously, after the Civil War, everyone kind of broke out and, tried to fetch for something better.
Exactly.
A lot of us went into Americas, the Europes, we scattered everywhere. And now we are exposed to so much more than the average person in Somalia is going to be exposed to. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously now there's a lot more coverage on things and they have these spaces being built now. Obviously you have certain gyms being built now in Somalia and obviously the football federation is now kind of getting back together. Getting back together, and they've been kind of beat into shape because for a long time they were just literally milking the whole system. Corruption, exactly. Something that we all suffer from. It's fucked. But a lot of us now have the opportunity to do more back home and here as well, just for ourselves. Obviously. Before you can help anyone, you have to help yourself.
Of course, 100%.
Like before you can feed someone else, you have to feed you, and then you got to feed whatever
100%.
That's how it works.
Last night I went to. I didn't post this or do anything about this. I was talking to a Somali reporter. Before I actually came into the UK. He works for Somali Brit TV, which is a huge Facebook Somali news, and he's also connected to Universal Somali TV, which is the biggest, basically, right next to BBC Somalia. I didn't get around to getting the interview. His family got COVID, and some of the time I was just busy doing podcasts, and we just not ever got around to it. But he connected me to this, basically like a Somali auntie. Her name's Najma. She had an event in London. I don't know if you've heard about it. It was about raising awareness for disabled children in the Somali community. Her whole goal was basically raising awareness on how it shouldn't be or an embarrassment to
we've got to break a lot of stigmas, man.
Exactly. No, of course, we have to talk about it. To have a disabled child, especially as a mom, a single mom, sometimes horribly, But last night, me and Muhi wasn't actually planning on going. He didn't know her, but we just ate dinner, and I was like, hey, let's go visit him. The kid's name is Abdullahi. He has Down syndrome. Mashallah, such a brilliant kid. He trains a little bit of kickboxing when he can. He has like a bag outside. We visited his house. He has a bunch of siblings. They're all amazing siblings, mashallah. But the mom, Najma, invited us, and we came over, had tea. We talked to Abdullahi. Just, up his a little bit, like his energy, give him good vibes. I actually donated my fight shorts for my last fight
sick.
To him. I gave it to him last night. But just raising awareness. I'm actually planning on just taking a little video clip from the conference that Najma had and putting it on my Instagram and raising just awareness. Even though I don't live in London, you know what? By the time I was done with London, I can say, hey, I did so much. I did this podcast, not just for myself, but I did it in terms of like raising awareness for all these other things that need to be spoken of in this community.
100%. I feel like we all, and that just goes to the fact that, exposing yourself to these things is important. Then it doesn't become so alien. You know what I'm saying?
Like stigmas around it, right? There's a lot of stigma, sadly, in the Somali community.
There is. Around mental health as well. Like, it's like jinya khabta. Like, I'm not crazy, bro. Like, it's just
no one is crazy.
Yeah.
Like she was talking about, because we sat there, me and Muhi, for like 2.5 hours, just listening, absorbing in a lot of things. She was talking about how in a lot of Somali communities, like there's like a disabled child, right? Like, or mental health, they're struggling with whatever it is, autism or Down syndrome, and like the parents. And I'm glad I'm saying it in English, honestly. Like, and I will say it in Somali too. I speak good Somali, but for this one, like, hey, it's like when a guest comes in, they put that kid upstairs. Never gets to see the guests. Never gets to interact with other people. That's not part of their family, right? Because it's like he's causing a ruckus, and they just put him upstairs. There was another thing that we talked about too. Like, I'm just blabbing on, but it's some good stuff to talk about because it's important.
No, go ahead, bro.
She was talking about how the mosques, like there's a really good quote. Like the mosques nowadays, there's no kids around, And there's a big quote about saying like, you should be concerned when the mosques don't have screaming, annoying kids everywhere. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Instead of saying, hey, shut up, get out of here. Like that's a lot of the imams, sheikhs, they're doing this sadly,
Yeah.
And they were talking about the London mosque. Like it gets me emotional because, man, it's like sometimes I catch myself not going to the mosque as much as I should, But they were just talking about how kids can just be misguided into thinking they have to be this certain way, quiet in the mosque, this, that, just so many restrictions, go upstairs when guests come if you have mental health. It's like, it's just miseducation, misunderstanding. It's not talked about enough. Obviously, I'm not no expert.
Yeah, man.
But these are things that the Somali community needs to address, talk about, and come together on.
I feel like that comes from, that will break in generations as well.
Yeah.
I feel like because education is so key to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And because we're exposed to information, we're exposed to these, there's labels on these. And we understand the labels now, obviously.
Yeah.
When you're, when you're in a certain place, so for instance, if you're in like there's not a lot of definition around it. It's just like one big title. It's just that you're this, that's it. There's nothing else around it.
Yeah.
But obviously us being, around information and being around, just being exposed to
exactly
to these things, and we can have that different mindset around it. So if we're growing up now, we won't have that kind of mentality or perspective on that.
100%. And it's funny that you see these memes that say like, it's like funny, but it has a truth behind it. Like it's like great grandparents just spitting shit at your grandparents. Then it's your grandparents spitting fucking shit at your parents. Then it's your parents doing the same fucking shit to you.
Yeah.
And it's like obviously you love your parents, you love everything, but you can tell like, hey, my mom or my dad don't understand this situation as well as they should. Sadly, it's because of the experiences they've had, which we all know: civil war, refugee, struggling in the U.S. Because when you move, it's like the world's not perfect. You're in a whole new country. Yeah. But you have to rise up first generation, obviously. I'm not first generation. I came when I was 4. I wasn't born there. But
same, bro.
Same thing, exactly.
Yeah, I came here when I was 10.
Exactly.
I'm 31 in January, so I've spent
Mashallah.
like most of my life here.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
I'm not even first generation here.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. So it's like, if you're not first generation, you better set up your kids to be like talking about these issues, you know, like raising awareness. There's no like Dakan Elis is a big one. Like, bro, just because your kids don't know like Somali or this and that, it's obviously like ideally everybody, you would love to be cultured and all of this. But if your kid is doing well off, not in the streets doing drugs and all this, and they're actually providing something good to whatever the community they're in, whatever the job they do, if they're staying out of trouble, maybe even if they're not the most religious, right? Mm-hmm. Like, to be honest, like a lot of the kids aren't, especially in the States and the West, the UK. Yeah. But it's just like, oh, let's bring them back. At the age of like 16, 17, everything's going well for them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
no, it's send them back.
Send them back.
You're literally, what you're doing then is you're
regressing. What you're doing.
You're literally affecting their growth in that sense.
You're regressing because you are spitting the same shit your grandparents spit at you. Your great grandparents spit at them. You're just going through the cycle again. Hey, you have to talk a certain way. Hey, you have to do this. And obviously we're Muslim. We love, like, everyone ideally should have the deen. Everyone should ideally know their language. But there's the other side too of just miseducation. They think that will fix all their problems. They think all of this will just go away, even if the kid isn't in the right path, right? Mm-hmm. But guess what? If you go to the right people, there's contacts everywhere in this world. Like, it's not just Somalis that will help you.
Yeah. Like, and to be fair, like, it's not just Somali community that are kind of I don't say call it backwards, but you know, they're not as, it's not just the Somali community that are suffering from this. I feel like a lot of the African community, a lot of the Asian community suffers from this. So just,
no, I'm sure. Yeah,
a lot of backward thinking, a lot of like, a lot of nonsense around stigmatization. You know what I'm saying? So we just got we just got to educate you know, ourselves, and it all depends on us and our offsprings and how we treat them and how we perceive them and what kind of education we give them.
100%.
So, you know, I feel like we're in a good place. Yeah. Because
we're in a good place because look where we are. We're in a podcast in some studio in London, the most expensive city, you know, in the world.
For real.
We just had a brother fight, like, sold out 150 tickets.
Facts.
Like, what better position can you be in to better your community? There's no better position. If you have 2 legs, 2 arms, you're sitting at home right now healthy in the States watching this podcast from my Instagram
whatever,
in the future.
Yeah.
Like, go out there, do whatever it is that you wanted to do, or raise awareness, whatever it is. Don't fucking sit there. Don't be useless. You know what I mean? Go out there and make a change, not just in a cliche way. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying, you know? Just talk about small conversations like me and Ilmi are having about these things. Like, talk to your friends about topics that you normally wouldn't talk about.
Yeah, facts. I feel like that more than anything else, conversations is where it begins. Change starts from, first, obviously, acknowledging that there's a problem.
Exactly.
And then
conversations
and around it.
Conversations get rid of misunderstanding and just stigmas. Yeah. You know, like, dang, I never thought of it this way, you know? Yeah. And there's things like I have a stigma around, but I talk to someone else and they don't have that same stigma. One of my friends, you probably know, he's talking to another fighter. And it's not a stigma, it's nothing crazy, but like one of the other fighters is a Shia, and this brother was Sunni. And
that old foe, eh?
Exactly. Like he's like he didn't say anything bad, but he just got shocked when he said, "Hey, I'm Shia," you know. But it's just, there's small things like that, misunderstanding, you know.
Yeah.
Like
I was gonna say, when it's difficult because there's so many ways we humans identify with the things that we believe in, you know, when it comes to culture, traditions, religion.
Definitely.
And the list goes on, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like the best place to start is to not look at how someone labels themselves. Just look at the person. Because we can identify, say, I say if I'm a Muslim, so let me say I'm a Muslim to you. Yeah? And if I say that to you straight away, you think, you know, like he's a practice.
Already have an idea in my head.
Yeah, like there's this kind of idea that you're kind of building, and not maybe just you. If I said that to someone else outside, I was like, I'm a Muslim, and they see my beard, and they'll think, whoa, okay, this guy is a
terrorist.
Like, or straight narrow, like, you know,
backwards.
Yeah, you know, whatever the
stigma they have
around that is
that they've heard in the media and everywhere else.
Exactly, and all that would literally change if they just have a conversation with me, because then they'll actually understand where on the title I am on that spectrum, like how I fully identify with that title. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And that's the spectrum. But man, there's a lot of things that is wrong. But there's
a lot of great things too. There's a
lot of great things.
There's a lot of things that are going well in our community.
Exactly.
I feel like our community right now, especially our kids, like all over TikTok and Instagram.
Shout out to Ahmedshafii.
Legend. Ilma, you worked with her, right?
I did a little project for her, but
that's awesome.
Another conversation.
But exactly, like her song going viral is a great thing for us. You know what it did? It had our Somali community, our kids, our younger kids, embrace their culture for a little bit. Whether it was on TikTok, Instagram, whatever the hell it is.
Cardi B was singing a damn song.
Exactly. No, it's not even, it's huge. Obviously, it went crazy. But like, when you think of it in our own culture, there's girls that have never listened to a Somali song. Guys that have never listened to a Somali song.
Facts.
By the way, best thing you can do for yourself is go listen to Somali songs.
Yeah.
You will, and there's history behind it. There's a lot of history behind music in Somalia. Sadly lost.
Yeah, I think we're like, what was that? Like, I was talking about this. We're like people of poets and like
the land of poets.
The land of poets.
Yeah. So we're known for poetry. Gabay is what we call it. And our poetry is like spoken. It's like poetry, it's like a fast spoken. It's not like a singing. Like my dad listens to a bunch of gabay like on the TV and stuff.
Sick.
There's a lot of history behind this stuff. Like 70s Somalia is a weird place. Have you
I tried to look up 70s Somalia on Google, bro. I seen
aunties.
I see aunties and I see uncles and like afros and like, you know, those spandex, you know what they used to. I see that in Somalia. I'm like, yo,
crazy, huh?
Somalia.
It's crazy what civil war can do to a place, man. It is ridiculous.
For real.
Man, just so much culture, so much history. But guess what? That Ahmedshafii song going viral just gives you in that little rabbit hole. You start looking deeper and deeper. In your own culture, you were ignoring it and going all to these other rabbit holes of MMA or music and all this and whatever the hell it is that you were into, but it just got you finally in your own rabbit hole where you belong, digging deeper, finding your own culture a little bit and embracing it in a great way. Obviously, I'm not saying this is the only thing that should be on your Spotify playlist or this and that, but guess what? You deserve to know a little bit about your awesome country and its history.
Ignorance is not bliss anymore, bro.
No.
Like, it's the worst thing you can do is stay ignorant. Like the internet is so infinite. There's so much information and so much education on there. If you're unsure about anything, obviously don't click on the first link. Like go through, like obviously listen and read all the perspectives, but there's information out there. And if you want to stay ignorant, that really is a disease. Like really
100%.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
100%. And it's like people will say like some things that everyone like, normal, you know, like someone will be like, hey, I have a temper a little bit, and like people view it as like, yeah, he has a temper, it's okay. Get the fuck out of here, you have a temper. Like, not even as a fighter, like, what are you talking about temper? Like, go do some education. Why do you have a temper? What are you so mad about?
What are you mad about?
Why do you react so ignorantly? Because no one should have a temper.
No.
Like, that's what the first thing you learn as a martial artist. That's the first thing like your parents try to teach you. It's the basic thing, you know, controlling yourself. So it's like, I have a little bit of a temper, this, that. And it's like you hear it a lot. I'm sure everyone in their life has heard someone say, I have a temper. And it's like, they think like it's normal.
Nah, bro. You just have some untethered kind of experiences in the past.
Exactly.
You should probably look at.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, for me especially, I'm very objective.
Yeah,
I'm very objective, and in most things I do, I'm very objective. So when you say something to me, I want objective kind of view on it. Like I don't just take in what you say, because
take it with the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to take everything with a little grain of salt. Being subjective in it will conflate. Yeah, what the truth is.
People say like put yourself in that guy's shoes. Yes, it's a great thing.
Yeah,
but sometimes if you were actually in his shoes, you might react differently to real. What he's reacting like. So that guy, like, if you like, let's say he had terrible abuse when he was a kid, right?
Yeah.
He might react differently to that abuse by throwing a tantrum than you would. Maybe you were the guy that did the education on why you got abused, how often it happens around the world, what ways you recover from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah.
Don't let him fucking get away with it, especially if he's your friend and someone you care about. Don't let him get away with saying, I have a temper, I have a tantrum, I have this problem. When you yourself might have reacted differently. Yeah, put yourself in their shoes. Don't take that saying as like, let it slide.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I think that's what a lot of people kind of use that phrase for. It's like, put yourself in that shoes. What would you have done? I think I know myself better than to react a certain way.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, yes, there's extreme situations. Like when you're donating, like I will put myself in their shoes. I wish I had money. Donate. Yeah, exactly. 100%. But like you're in a first world country, and there's some certain things that you are obviously like not the best at showing or putting out there. I'm going to put myself in your shoes, and I'm going to try to better the situation that I'm in by looking the circumstances and doing my education and doing everything else that would better that problem.
Facts. Let's go back onto fighting. I think we drifted off into more
which is good.
Social. Yeah, for real. What do you think about this whole I think we mentioned it earlier, Jake as well. Jake Paul kind of fighting UFC retirees.
Yeah.
What's your whole take on that?
So one thing I want to get clear.
Yeah.
Jake Paul is not fixing fights.
All right.
That's not happening. That is nonsense.
Okay.
Whoever is commenting that, don't believe it. Don't even give it any attention. No one is fixing fights at that level.
Okay. What about the whole drugs conspiracy?
There's merit behind some of those.
Yeah.
That's more understandable. Like it's not the end of the world of saying Jake Paul's on steroids. And by the way, I actually despise Jake Paul in a weird way, but I respect him for what he's doing, and I'll explain that later. There's merit behind that, of course, but then people just resort to putting Jake down. He's fixing fights. He's fighting UFC fighters, UFC 5-time champ. Ben Askren's a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
He was gonna fight Tommy Fury. Tommy pulled out. Yeah. And people are saying like, oh, Tommy pulled out for other reasons, but Tommy literally said himself, "I'm injured."
I'm injured. Yeah.
But what I think about the Jake Paul situation, I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said this. It's not just me saying it.
Yeah.
Most people are saying like he's an idiot. Why are we paying attention? You can say that. But there's a reason why. Look deeper why people are actually paying attention, why media is covering it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's money behind this guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has a following, and he's promoting himself the right way. And he's also skilled. People, like, this guy's been training how long? He's probably been training longer than me now.
5 years now.
Exactly. Like, he has the skill to kill anyone. If I think I'm a great fighter after 4 years, this guy's been training 5 years. How is he not a great boxer? How does he not believe like I believe? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, people just think like you can't take up something and be great at it. Yeah. No.
And you got to touch. You touched on that as well. Plus, like there's a lot of money behind him. So he probably has the best training facilities.
Yep.
Probably has the best nutrition
around
him. The best conditioning kind of situation. Like he has all of that.
And he's settled. Like sometimes like people say like the most dangerous fighter is like a comfortable fighter.
Yeah.
He's almost too comfortable. Like he has nothing to lose. Nothing to worry about. Like this guy is a millionaire outside of the sport. And then you have guys, it can also go the other way. Like guys like T Wood who are, hungry, looking for that big paycheck. You would think on paper, oh my God,
he should beat him.
Tyron Woodley should beat him. He's the hungrier fighter. He's that. Jake is picking and choosing his fights. He's not picking smartly. He's not picking guys that, obviously Tyron's on the tail end of his career. He's not picking guys that are like gonna absolutely decimate him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he still has a slither of hope. He has some things going for him.
Yeah.
And he's taking advantage of it.
Touching on that as well, he's at the amateur stage of his career, and if you I mean, he's not necessarily like he hasn't had like amateur fights in that sense. So in a sense, he is at that kind of end of his, I mean, start of his kind of career where he's fighting more or less
bigger competition every time.
Yeah, like people who are past their prime, but in his kind of situation, is good for his development.
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
You know what
you're saying he's an amateur. That's not an amateur.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's starting out his professional career.
Exactly.
But he's fighting guys on the tail end of their career.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different, that would never happen if you didn't have the money and the backing that Jake Paul has. Like, I couldn't go into MMA as a pro and say, I want the guy who is 20-10, who's on the tail end looking for a retirement fight. Unless I was a Jake Paul millionaire, super famous, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then I was gonna ask this question. It was like, well, so when are you gonna fight your that YouTuber?
When am I gonna fight a YouTuber? I would love to fight a YouTuber, man. I think me myself, I will be viewed kind of in the light of some of these YouTubers, you know?
Sure.
Like, this guy is all show. This guy, and I've got these comments before, but obviously the skill, what at the end of the day plays the main factor, you know? But I would love to fight a YouTuber. The amount of exposure you're getting, the amount.
So
like,
would you take a fight from, you know, someone, you know, who's doing well socially on social media and such?
Yeah.
So,
dude, I actually want a super fight. If there was another me at this amateur level, I would pounce on that fight because I have exciting style.
Yeah.
There's someone else, even if they don't have an exciting style, you know what? They're exciting outside of the ring.
Yeah.
And I literally want to contact one of the guys I fight beforehand and tell him, like, hey, can you, like, in a promotional way, obviously, maybe I can do it with the middleman.
Yeah.
Like, hey, take these pictures, say this certain thing, guaranteed the fight will blow up. Or, you know, and Jake Paul guaranteed is doing this with Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, because you can look on Woodley's Instagram. This is all planned.
He's literally giving him pointers on how to promote
because
himself.
Woodley is a humble guy. He knows he's obviously not the level of Jake Paul in terms of promotion and all of that. Yeah. I'm sure he's taking tips before that hand. And if there's a middleman, why not do it? Like, the promoters, that's the other thing. I like promoters that get involved in the actual promotion. Like, they don't rely on fighters to promote. Yeah. Like, yes, like, come up with your own ideas as a fighter. But at the end of the day, like, your promotion plays a factor too, you know? The posters they make, the highlights, the clips they put out there. There's great promotions, and then you can tell there's really bad promotions.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a fighter who has a big name that understands and thinks like me. I'd be like, dude, we're gonna fight anyway. Might as well fucking make it huge, you know? Let's get some big attention, and when we do walk in there, you know what? It's way bigger than it would have been if we just did our training camp and stayed silent like some of these other guys.
Yeah. You heard it here. So if you're out here listening to this, sign up and get your ass whooped, because he will definitely whoop your ass.
And I will send you some promotional papers. It'll be good for you to sign.
Facts. Shafii, bro.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you, brother.
This has been a very, very good conversation on so many levels. So I appreciate you for coming in. And giving me your time, bro.
The pleasure was mine, man. I can tell you're a beautiful guy.
Man.
Physically and, you know, everything else about you.
Bro.
But I just loved your whole demeanor, attitude about filming Muhi. And the second I met you, I was like, this guy's a great guy, mashallah.
Love, bro. I'm sure this is not going to be the first or the last time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. Yes. Thank you for coming in. And guys, thank you for tuning in. You know, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
We'll have a name out there for you guys.
Yeah, man. I don't even have a name for this bloody series, man.
I can say I was the first.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good cap in my feather.
It's going to be a good one. For real. He's
feather in my cap. Sorry.
Yeah, for real. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Bless out.